What's up guys, it's Mark from enthuZM Productions bringing you a video review of the robot Damashii Pacific Rim Uprising side Jaeger Gipsy Avenger. Da-na-na, da-na-na. Quick little side note before I actually start the review, you guys. As of this recording, I have not seen the movie Pacific Rim Uprising yet. It actually comes out in a couple of days. So going into this review, I'm going to be completely unbiased, and my final thoughts are going to be based solely on the figure itself. So with all that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and get into the review. Alright, kicking this review off, starting with the packaging. It's not your normal robot Damashii or even any Damashii Nation's figure type packaging. The only thing that's a little bit different is it has this little flap up here, which is kind of more or less like an American general release figure with the Pacific Rim Uprising up top there, robot Damashii. But other than that, if you cut the rest of this off, it is your typical Damashii Nations type box with the exception of this. Anyway, you do get your cutout of the characters. So we have our lead Jaeger here, the Gipsy Avenger. Bandai, Damashii Nations, Legendary, all the warnings here. On the side you have Gipsy Avenger. On the back, a couple of poses. And then there's a read up little bio there, so if you want to read that, just go ahead and pause the video. He does come with the chain sword. He does come with the gravity sling, which I'm going to actually double up as his plasma caster, because unfortunately that's one of the missing things about this figure that I wish it had, was the plasma caster, but close enough. Over 24 points of articulation, and I'm wondering if that's why we have a lower price for this figure. And as you can see, I picked him up for $19.95 at Barnes & Noble of all places. Barnes & Noble has actually come up on their collector's items, and I've been going there for my Gunpla, some of my other SH Figure Arts, or even Damashii Nature figures. Sometimes you'll be able to get a good deal through Barnes & Noble. But anyway, there's the bottom of the box looking pretty badass. Other side of the box with a picture of Gipsy Avenger. And this is R number 228, so it's like a continuation of their robot figures, but the price, it's a little surprising. And then there's the top of the box. So again, seeing this figure being sold for 20 bucks is a little weird. I have seen them on Amazon and other shops being sold for 30 bucks. So Gipsy Avenger being sold for 20 bucks at Barnes & Noble, and by the way, I got an extra 20% off for whatever reason. So I got them for less than 20, was kind of a steal. So what's up with that? Let's go ahead and find out. So here he is, you guys, the robot Damashii Gipsy Avenger, and he looks amazing, especially for a $20 figure. Now, his paint could be a little bit better, although if you're not new to robot Damashii, you know this is kind of normal. He does come with a slightly metallic looking finish for most of his primary colors, and you do see this really nice red trim, which I kind of wish followed through throughout the legs, and that's kind of one of my disappointments of this figure, is the red trim should have followed throughout the body, but you do get it in some of the top areas of the body, which is nice enough. I just kind of wish the detailing went all the way down to his legs. As you can see, they look a little bland compared to the upper body here. And then if we turn it to the back, it's a little bit more bland. Like, you get some surface detail, like in the back there especially, and then right in that area right there. I kind of wish some of the areas, some of these details were brought out a little bit more with some extra paint. But again, if this is not your first robot Damashii figure, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Not all the details of those figures are painted in, although they do look a little bit better than your standard high grade kits. But all in all, you do get a solid figure. Paint apps could be a little bit better, but for what it is, I can't really ask for more. Although one of the things that I find really cool, and you can only kind of see it right there, is the paint on the visor is gold, although it's kind of like this painted above or painted under effect, because it really comes off as looking like a visor with the right light shown at it. Like you can see there, like looking at it normally, it looks like it just painted solid gold, but in the right light you can see that it actually kind of peeks through. So that's a nice detail there. Moving up to his articulation, he does have a pretty decent range. His head is on a ball joint up top. He does have a pivoting neck joint which goes back and forward. Oh, it was already forward. You do have ball joints at the shoulders here. Gotta make sure I get this thing focused. You got ball joints in there in the body, and then ball joints right at the shoulders. You also have ball joint connection here on the shoulder armor, which allows the arms to go up about that far. Okay, maybe not as far up as I thought, but you do get a bicep swivel right here. Double jointed elbow bend. These wrist cuffs do swivel, and then ball jointed wrists. The torso is a bit disappointing though. You get some side-to-side rotation here. You get a reverse crunch, but then forwards, not so much. You kind of have to wiggle it a little bit, but even then you don't get that much at all. The legs are great on the other hand. You have that similar waist joint that you find in most high-grade kits where it swivels, although up top it's attached via a ball joint, so you do get some rotation, as well as the swiveling side to side. Aside from that, you have a ball joint in there, and then a ball joint right there, so you get a full range of motion. You can go up, you can bring the legs down, forward, backwards, out about that far. And then what's interesting here is right there you also have another ball joint, so you get not just a rotation but a little bit of pivoting here and there, so that kind of helps with the leg posability. Double jointed knee bend, really nice there, and you can kind of see with the lighting just how that metallic paint kind of shows. Then you also have another double ball joint system here up at the ankle and then here on the foot, which allows for a pretty decent range of movement, although the pivoting left and right could be a little bit more for more dynamic poses. It's kind of the fault of the design of the heels right there. Although what I do get, the poses that I can do with Gipsy Danger with feet planted down is pretty decent. Also a side note, as Gipsy Avenger flexes his back muscles here, these two pieces, probably thrusters, come detached in the packaging, so all you gotta do is pop them on. They're attached 2 pegs each. And now here are all of Gipsy's Avenger's accessories. Now, although he doesn't come with too much, I would have definitely loved for a Gipsy Avenger to come with more manipulators. He does come with some open hands, which allows him to do this pose. And they simply go into the ball jointed wrists. Now, I kind of wish there was a hinge mechanism that's built into this, although yes, sure, it's a ball joint, you already get a good amount of movement, but having the wrists go like this or maybe up like that allows for a little bit more expressiveness. Next up is his gravity sling. Now again, you can see some mechanical detail here, although I do wish that was painted in a little bit more. I think that a figure maybe like a high grade or even I think the Diamond Select figure may have more detail there, but it looks a little bland. I wish that was painted in a little bit more, but I do like the effect here. And again, like I said, I wish they included the actual plasma caster instead of this. This almost looks like the plasma caster, almost. I just wish they'd included that. Maybe they're gonna re-release this figure in like a premium color or something like that with the plasma caster and some effects shooting some plasma, obviously. But a little bit disappointing, but this piece alone is really nice. Now, to get the gravity sling on, you do have to pop off this arm. I will say the first time I had to do this whole thing, it was a bit difficult. The joints were still kind of dried up, so I would recommend warming it up a little bit or just being really careful. What I had to do was I had to actually take off this to keep it from popping off and then force it in. But after I did that one time, it just goes in a lot smoother. All you have to do is listen for it to click, just like that. Now once you get that gravity sling on there, you are treated with this really nice look here. Again, I kind of wish the mechanical details within the arms were painted, but overall, I think it's pretty dope. And moving on to the last accessory, and it is the signature chainsaw. Now it's beautifully painted. Again, the red trim there. You can't see the detail yet, but that's kind of great. You see a little bit there. I wish that was painted in. But the silver is really nice. It's this nice metallic shiny silver. But I feel like there could have been some lining detail, maybe like a darker, like outer or maybe an inner. Who knows? Like again, I haven't seen the movie yet. As of this recording, the movie has not come out yet. It is the week it comes out, but I have not seen it yet. Anyway, now the chainsaw does go on the same exact way you would put on the gravity sling, and yes, it was just as difficult the first time, but all you gotta do afterwards is listen for the click, and that's how you know the arm is securely placed in. One last bit here, he does come with a port so you can place in a Damashii Stage Act base. I don't have any of my bases to kind of show this off, but it is covered up by this little piece here that you just simply peg in, and it just blends in really well. So the Robot Damashii Side Jaeger Gipsy Avenger is overall a nice figure. I think it was worth the 20 bucks. I mean, hell, most of these Robot Damashii figures double that, maybe even triple that, depending on what figure you're looking at. Although I do think he's overall a great figure, that's not to say he's not without any issues. I do have a couple of gripes about the figure, most of which are just me nitpicking, but I do have one major issue, and it's right here with his left arm. It's loose. Like there's a certain point where there's just no friction. Now I could easily fix that, but it kind of sucks. Now my other issue is just one of my nitpicks, and I kind of just wish that they had followed through with the red trim all around the rest of the body here. Like you get it up on the top here, but when it gets to the bottom, And I know with the amount of art that I did see, there is some more detailing around the legs, so it's kind of disappointing to see that some of that extra paint job is just not present on the legs. Now for my final nitpick, it kind of just comes down to me wanting more. Now I understand this figure is 20 bucks, and for what I paid for, what I did get out of this figure, I am happy. Although I do kind of feel like if this figure was 40 bucks, maybe even 60 bucks, for me to get the paint that I wanted, for me to get the accessories that I wanted, which is like maybe an extra length for the gravity sling, an extra effect part for the gravity sling, maybe an extra sword, who knows. And again, the movie hasn't even been out yet, so I'm not sure what other abilities this Jaeger can do. But based on what I got, I am happy. I am just kind of left with wanting a little bit more. And actually, two more things before I close out this review. I did complain about the wrist joints a little bit, kind of wishing that there was a hinge joint in them, but to be honest, I want to take that back. After playing with this figure as recording this video, the wrist, they work for me. But what for sure doesn't work for me are the ball joints for these shoulder pads. They pop off way too much, especially if I'm trying to pose the arms. Even unintentionally, they kind of just pop off, and I'm just trying to be careful, knowing what the limitations of the joints are. I still managed to pop these shoulders off at least 3 or 4 times off camera. So overall, you guys, I do thoroughly enjoy this figure despite all my gripes and nitpicks about it. It is worth the $20. I would not pay 30 bucks as I've seen them on Amazon and other websites. 20 bucks is perfectly fine. Barnes & Noble, Toys R Us, if you still have them open, that is. But I do thoroughly enjoy this figure. He does have a decent amount of posability. He does get into the kind of poses that I want him to get into. He can't get into any dynamic poses, but you gotta think about it. These Jaegers aren't, they're not super dynamic like anything we've seen at like maybe Super Robot Wars or even Build Fighters, but these are giant mechs, and they're built for fighting. But do I plan on picking up the other figures? I don't know. We'll see how the movie goes. We'll see how I feel about that movie, and if I do see the other 2 figures in public, hopefully at Barnes & Noble, if I don't see them, then I'm not gonna bother too much worrying about getting those figures, because I am happy with this Gipsy Avenger figure. I don't feel the need to get the other ones at this very moment. But do I recommend picking this figure up? Absolutely. For 20 bucks and for what you get out of it, hell yeah. Now if you're a giant robot fan, a giant fighting robot fan, and a Gipsy Avenger fan, or even a Pacific Rim fan, this is a no-brainer. You gotta find this figure, pick them up. You will thoroughly enjoy it as much as I did. So that about wraps it up, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end of this video. It does help a lot. Don't forget to leave a comment down below letting me know what you think about this figure. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so you guys can be notified when I post a new video review. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Peace!
What we do here is go back.
Da-na-na, da-na-na.